I think last night Donald Trump's event in Madison Square Garden really highlighted a point that I've been making throughout this campaign. He is focused and actually fixated on his grievances, on himself, and on dividing our country. And it is not in any way something that will strengthen the American family, the American worker. It is nothing about what he is saying that is actually going to support the aspirations, the dreams, and the ambitions of the American people. It is absolutely something that is intended to and is fanning the fuel of trying to divide our country. And as I've said many times, I'll say tomorrow night in my speech, there's a big difference between he and I. If he were elected on day one, he's going to be sitting in the Oval Office working on his enemies list. On day one, if I am elected President of the United States, which I fully intend to be, I will be working on behalf of the American people on my to-do list. I'll take any questions, yeah.
Madam President, Michelle Obama said recently that you faced a double standard in this campaign. Do you feel like you've had to clear a higher bar every day than Donald Trump?
My role and responsibility running for President of the United States is to make my case to the American people and to earn their support. And that is why I'm spending time traveling the country to listen to folks and to talk with them about my plans for strengthening our small businesses, my plans for helping people with home ownership, my plans to help young families with children. And that's the work that I'm going to continue to do, not taking anyone for granted, but knowing that I have to earn their support. And my plans and policies, including economists who have reviewed them, point to one fact, which is that my approach will strengthen America in many ways, including our economy. Donald Trump will weaken America and our economy.
Vice President,
you're making several stops in Michigan today. Can you talk about your final pitch to Michigan voters today?
So I'm heading back to Michigan to talk with working people, with families, with young people about the issues that they care most about. They want to make sure that we're going to lower prices. They know that the price of groceries, for example, is too high. I know it too. So I have a plan to deal with that in terms of a number of things, including dealing with price gouging. They want to know that they have an opportunity to live the American dream around home ownership. That's why my plan about giving people a $25,000 down payment assistance if they're a first-time home buyer matters to the people of Michigan. They care about American manufacturing. I'm going to be talking about that again. My plan includes what we will do to continue to invest in American-based industries, American manufacturing, and American workers. That is how we are going to remain strong and globally competitive and win the competition for the 21st century with China and anybody else.
One follow-up to your remarks about President Trump's rally last night. Some people who watched that made comparisons between a rally that happened at Madison Square Garden in 1939 with neo-Nazis or Nazis back then. Do you see those comparisons? And can you also expand on what he said and what you said yesterday about Puerto Rico?
Donald Trump this is not new about him, by the way. What he did last night is not a discovery. It is just more of the same and maybe more vivid than usual. Donald Trump spends full time trying to have Americans point their finger at each other, fans the fuel of hate and division, and that's why people are exhausted with him. That's why people who formerly have supported Donald Trump, have voted for him, are supporting me, voting for me. People are literally ready to turn the page. They're tired of it. In terms of Puerto Rico, even when I was in the United States Senate, knowing that Puerto Rico does not have a United States Senator, I was intentional about doing what I could as a United States Senator to make sure that among my priorities, it included paying attention to the needs of the people on that island, including the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. I have announced also my plan that is about my opportunity economy writ large, but a specific target that will include a task force focused on the needs of Puerto Rico, understanding that it has very specific needs in terms of upgrading and repairing its electrical grid, what it needs in terms of investment that will be public-private partnerships. And I'm going to continue to do it. I'm very proud to have the support of folks like Bad Bunny and Jennifer Lopez and others who were supporting me before that nonsense last night at Madison Square Garden, and are supporting me because they understand that they want a president of the United States who's about uplifting the people and not berating, not calling calling America a garbage can, which is what Donald Trump, those are the words he has used. So there you go. I'll see you later. Okay.
Let's get to some great reporters here with me today. Priscilla Alvarez, Manu Raju, and Phil Mattingly, all my wonderful CNN colleagues. Priscilla, I heard you on last night. I called in after you did, after this rally. You spend all your time covering the Harris campaign. They obviously believe that this is a gift, but then you also hear Kamala Harris saying just within the last hour that this is not new. So how realistically do you think that they can try to capitalize politically on what we just played?
Well, the messages I was getting last night were, look, this wasn't the split screen we thought we were going to get today, but they are very happy to seize on it because earlier yesterday, the vice president was at a Puerto Rican restaurant in the Philadelphia area, courting those voters, talking about her plans for the island. And then what followed was these comments assailing Puerto Rico at the former president's rally. So they jumped on that, and so did Bad Bunny, who, by the way, sources tell me that the Harris campaign has been trying to get to lend his support to the vice president. So this eventually snowballed into what you're saying, Diana, an opportunity for the Harris campaign as they are trying to make inroads with these Latino voters. And by the way, just hammering in home on the Puerto Rican vote, I did some math for you.
Thank you.
Pennsylvania in 2020, President Joe Biden only won by some 82,000 votes. We're talking about 500,000 Latinos in that state alone, and many of them are Puerto Rican. So as all of this unfolded, those were the messages I was getting. Opportunity.
And thank you for doing, you know who else did some math for us? Our terrific Inside Politics team. I just want to add to what you just said. Pennsylvania, as of course you're always right, 472,672. That's according to the census. Georgia, 132,000 and change. North Carolina, 124,000 and change. And just to sort of add more numbers, you mentioned Bad Bunny. Let's look at some of the other megastars who made their voices and their positions clear last night after this rally. Bad Bunny, Ricky Martin, J-Lo, Luis Fonsi. And if you just look at some of the numbers of their followers, J-Lo, 250 million. Bad Bunny, 45.6 million. Ricky Martin, 18.6 million. Luis Fonsi, 16 million. They probably have some crossover there, but that's 330.2 million people who saw, worldwide, but who saw their very clear stance on this rally.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what kind of impact it has. Of course, tens of millions of people have already early voted. We've seen polls showing that, views of Donald Trump are locked in. This is a race that is so close, well within the margin of error. Very few persuadable voters out there. So maybe it may have some impact on the margins. We shall see. I got to say, though, that the Trump campaign statement distancing itself was pretty weak sauce. I mean, there were so many things that were said throughout that from the other people who spoke that there was not much pushback from the Trump campaign, calling out a black man in the crowd and saying the comedians joking about a carved watermelon. I mean, that is a flat-out racist statement that we have really not heard much distancing from the campaign. I mean, if you're a campaign who are really concerned about the things they said about Puerto Ricans or the black individual in the audience, probably come out and say, I strongly condemn these remarks. It has absolutely nothing to do with the campaign.
And not a spokesperson nobody's heard of, the actual candidate.
Yes, exactly, because they are vile. These are racist comments, and that if the campaign wants nothing to do with it, they have to be stronger in pushing back. So we'll have an impact, we'll see, but the response has been pretty weak so far, distancing themselves.
Can I just say on Bad Bunny, though, quickly? I mean, we talk about all these followings with Beyonce and Taylor Swift, but Bad Bunny is immensely influential, especially among Latino men. And remember that polling has shown there's been some waning enthusiasm there. So him putting his finger on the lever here, or on the balance, it certainly is something that the campaign is beyond excited about because they know that's a group of voters they've struggled with who have been leaning for former President Donald Trump, and they think that with Bad Bunny weighing in, it could help them get across the finish line.
A couple things. One, I think to your point, the recognition, you name off all the stars of Puerto Rican descent that have endorsed or came out and condemned the remarks. Bad Bunny was deeply involved in kind of political protest, political action on the island a couple of years ago. I can't remember, it might have been 2016, 2015, 2016, with younger Puerto Ricans when they were extremely active and in the streets. So he's not just a star who left the island a while ago and sometimes goes back. Like, he's deeply, deeply involved in the community there. And so the resonance there, I think, is critical. The other thing, to Manu's point, like how we've defined down saying, the campaign saying this doesn't represent the president's views on that one specific comment, and everybody's like, oh my goodness, wow, they put out a statement. They put out, they didn't quite apologize, but they put out a statement. That shows how bad it is. And to Manu's point, there were about 15 other things that they should have put out similar, more robust statements to. When it comes to this, I was actually more struck, and Manu deals with these folks every single day, among those condemning the comments were Senator Rick Scott of Florida, Maria Elvira Salazar, the congresswoman from Florida. You know, you have Republican lawmakers who never say anything to get crosswise with Donald Trump or his campaign.
Let alone before an election.
Let alone before the election.
Well, it's because
Granted, they're both runners as well, and do very well in the community. I think those were kind of the telling things from last night.